Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of Money Means Business. Of course, our episode is going to be totally dedicated to the financial aspect of COP27. COP27, this distinguished gathering which attracted world leaders from all over the world, which attracted CEOs and heads of NGOs, of governments, you name it. Thousands of delegates are here in the Red Sea Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh to share, to participate, to come up with new ideas and to implement on the ground what they are going to agree upon. This COP is the COP of Africa and COP of implementation, not the COP of mottos or COP of only dialogues. Well, right after the short break, we are going to turn back with my dear guest live here in the studio as we are going to speak in detail about the achievements until the moment. The cap of a week. Well, we are capping a week. We do still have another week to come, inshallah, with more achievements, but at least we are going to speak about what happened in the past 7 days. Stay tuned. Right after this, I'm going to be back with more.
With tens of thousands of tweets, hashtags World Respect Egypt and COP27 topped the Twitter trend list, coinciding with the holding of the Global Climate Summit in the Egyptian city of Sharm el-Sheikh, where many bloggers praised the organization and also the role that Egypt plays in reducing emissions and pollution as part of its steps to confront climate change on the planet. Egypt hosts the COP27 Climate Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, which is considered the largest and most important summit in the world, to discuss the fate of the planet and save it from deterioration and collapse from the devastating effects of climate change and contribute to saving humanity. The COP27 Conference of Parties witnessed wide international participation from different parts of the world, with more than 120 state leaders and representatives from 197 countries, nearly 40,000 participants from around the world, and dozens of international and regional organizations participating in the annual negotiations on climate change, and more than 3,000 media professionals follow the activities of the summit in all languages. Egypt, which over the past years strengthened its plans towards adapting to the negative effects of climate change as it constitutes a threat, is seeking to create the atmosphere to urge all parties to enhance mutual trust, through which the results that people aspire to be achieved in terms of facing the climate change crisis and avoiding its devastating disasters. On the sidelines of the COP27 conference, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi witnessed the signing of an agreement to establish a wind energy project in Egypt with a capacity of 10 gigawatts, which is one of the largest wind energy projects in the world. Sultan bin Ahmed Al Jaber, Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology and the United Arab Emirates Special Envoy for the Climate Change, said this huge onshore wind energy project with a capacity of 10 gigawatts is one of the largest in this field in the world, and it came to confirm the ambitious goals of both the United Arab Emirates and Egypt in the field of renewable energy. The project will produce 47,790 gigawatts of clean energy annually and will contribute to avoiding carbon dioxide emissions. The wind power plant will provide Egypt with an estimated $5 billion in annual natural gas costs, in addition to providing up to 100,000 jobs directly and indirectly, and in addition to adding about 3,200 jobs for operation and maintenance after the construction of the plant. According to a statement issued by the presidency on the sidelines of the COP27 conference, Egypt and Greece are working on a plan to generate 9.5 gigawatts of electricity through renewable energy sources in Egypt and transfer it to Europe via Greece, and the new capacities will be generated through wind and solar power plants and will be transmitted through a submarine cable between the two countries. As Egypt looks forward to strengthening relations with Greece and other neighboring countries in the region in the field of energy and electricity, including a potential gas pipeline and the Euro-Africa project, whose investments amount to $4 billion and aims to connect the electricity grid in Egypt with Greece and Cyprus during the current decade. During the COP27 climate conference, in the presence of President El-Sisi, Norwegian Prime Minister, and the Norwegian companies Scatec, Vertiglobe, Orascom Construction, and the Sovereign Fund of Egypt, announced the start of the trial operation of the first phase of the plant, green hydrogen with a capacity of 100 megawatts in Ain Sokhna. President El-Sisi said that he is pleased to participate in the inauguration of the first phase of the green hydrogen production project in the Suez Canal Economic Zone, which is being implemented in the cooperation with Norway, stressing that the economic zone in the Suez Canal is one of the most important commercial areas in the world. He pointed out that the establishment of the green hydrogen project in the Suez Canal region helps Egypt export green hydrogen to all European countries, stressing that Egypt will be the link between the European and African continents to transfer electricity and clean green energy, adding that Egypt is keen to overcome all obstacles in the process of providing energy, green and clean, which works to attract investments. As part of the Sharm el-Sheikh Implementation Summit of COP27, Egypt and Belgium, as sponsors of the initiative, announced the launch of the Global Renewable Hydrogen Forum during the high-level roundtable on investing in the energy future, green hydrogen. The Global Renewable Hydrogen Forum is a platform that brings together all multi-stakeholders to facilitate the production and uses of renewable hydrogen in a way that contributes to reducing carbon emissions, benefiting from the environmental, social, and economic benefits provided by the global green hydrogen economy, and contributing to the promotion of the cross-border green hydrogen trade among energy-rich developing countries, renewables, and developed countries. On the other hand, the Saudi Aqua Power Company signed a memorandum of understanding with the Oman Investment Authority, the Omani Sovereign Wealth Fund, to sell a 10% share of the Suez Wind Power Project with a capacity of 1.1 gigawatts to the fund. In a statement issued on the sidelines of the conference, the Omani Investment Authority will own 10% of the project, whose total value is estimated at $1.5 billion. Egypt signed a contract to manage and operate the first line of the high-speed electric train network Ain Sokhna, Alexandria, El Alamein, Matruh, with a consortium of German, Deutsche Bahn, and El Swedi electric companies. Transport Minister indicated that the contract for managing and operating the electric train network will be in return for the Egyptian government receiving a percentage of the revenues. On the other hand, the Minion Youth Volunteer Initiative for Climate Adaptation, Climate Ambassadors, organized today a vigil inside the demonstrations area on the sidelines of the COP27 Climate Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. During the vigil, the initiative demanded the debt waiver of Egypt, raising banners that read, "There is no climate justice without the justice of debt relief."
Welcome back. To start immediately discussing the financial aspects of the COP27 currently taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh, and started on the 7th of November, and inshallah it's going to continue till the 18th of the same month. We are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio my dear guest, Dr. Abbas Zoghary, our economic expert. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. And as I said, let's start immediately, and starting, if you permit me, with the visit of American President Joe Biden to the COP27 yesterday and to his speech. In fact, he said a lot about climate change, and speaking about climate change as something which is really having its negative impacts on every human being, on every even living creature on our planet. And he pledged the 500 million US dollars to Egypt to help Egypt to in its transition to a renewable energy or green economy, if I'm describing the matter as it was. How do you see this? How do you see the sum of money? How do you see the announcement? And how do you see that trust in Egypt that we can achieve this on the ground, the transition to green economy or green power, green energy?
Now, first of all, thank you for the producing what you have said. I just remember the last time when we finished our program, I said, because we can do it. I was really astonished about the arrangement of the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, because it was tremendous. It is really magnificent how Egypt succeed to arrange this conference and how well the organizations there. All the visitors and all the presidents who came to Egypt to join the conference, they were astonished about, they couldn't imagine that this will be like that. It is really, they work hard, and the president has, with his ministers and the prime minister and all the Egyptian who works there, the best. The visit of the President Biden of the United States, I see it very positive, and he was very optimistic and very friendly and very kind. And I have listened to the words, what he said. I was very glad because he was saying it from his heart. It was not because he would like to make it for the President of the United States. No, that was coming from his heart, because as an old man, he's saying the truth, and he just speaking about what he saw. About the speech and about what he said about Egypt. Egypt is the mother of the world, and everything is coming from there. He was talking about the civilization of the pyramids since the ancient of years, and it was absolutely magnificent, and it was very positive. Also, President Sisi was very happy with the visit of the president. The money which the president has announced that he will give Egypt $500 million to start producing the green hydrogen for clean energy. And he also announced that he will give 150 million for Africa. The amount of money what Egypt will collect from all this is huge. And Egypt has arranged this conference not for promising, and not that people comes over and say, I will pay this, and he just left. No, they just arranged a project, and they give the project to all the people, the Americans, the Europeans, the people from Venezuela, from all the countries, which was, I think, 197 countries. They were represented here in Egypt, from president or a prime minister or minister. And those people, it's, they saw the truth. They saw that something serious. It is not only speeches like it was before. So the most of the people from other countries, they said, is it for the first time? For the first time that they saw that this is real.
And sir, if you permit me to say that when it comes to developed countries, they are not going to pay $1 or even a penny if they do not know that much, or if they are not that confident that the recipient is going to use this huge sum of money. As you've kindly mentioned, in my humble opinion, it's relatively huge, if I may say so. But with the Egyptian economic reform, with the infrastructure, with the new smart cities scattered all over Egypt, with the will of Egypt to fulfill its promises when it comes to renewable energy resources, when they have seen this on the ground, of course they studied well the situation. And because of this, when the decision was made, it was made upon a solid basis. If you permit me to say that, or if you agree with me on that, true or false? And if so, this means that this is going to be a beginning, and inshallah we are expecting other positive steps to be taken?
Yes. Just to consider it as reality, because Egypt started a factory in El Sokhna already, and they just announced it to the whole world. And therefore, people are believing that Egypt is very serious. If you're talking about clean energy, if I'm talking about how many villages of solar energy has been built and how many contract has been signed during the conference with Orascom or Al Hassan Alam, that they will start building 3 other villages with a huge, and the wind energy as well. So Egypt, it's on the run. It is not this year, it is since many years. They start since very long time, and this will save us a lot of problem. And consider this as an oil field. I mean, they thinking about the clean energy, green hydrogen for
And natural gas.
natural gas. So, I mean, God is great, and God is with us, and we thank God for that. This means a lot for Egypt. Economically, I think Egypt will be one of the strongest country who produce the green hydrogen and export it to other country. The European, they will invest a lot of money in Egypt. They will pay a lot of money because there is a pipeline which has been signed off during the conference between Greece and Egypt, and this is going for export to Europe. So the green hydrogen will be exported from Egypt to Europe, and especially Germany. Germany invests a lot of money for clean energy because Germany is one of the biggest industrial country in Europe. And you can just, if you listen good to the American president yesterday in his speech, which he said that we will pay $500 million from the US and EU, Germany.
Yeah.
He doesn't remind the EU totally, but he reminds Germany because Germany pay a lot of money for that and invest a lot of money. And Germany invests also a lot of money in Egypt for our energy, for the electricity power from Siemens. And they have been
Europe,
in Egypt.
Europe in general, they are suffering a lot after the Ukrainian-Russian conflict with expectation that the coming winter is going to be that tough for them. And we wish that the call for peace, which was launched by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi when he called on world leaders, please coordinate efforts together to put an end to this war. I think our world is going to be better without wars, without conflicts. To add to what you have just said, sir, Environment Minister Dr. Yasmin Fouad, who is in the same time the coordinator of the COP27, said it that way. Let me quote her. Egypt will pressure other nations to implement climate promises made at previous conferences. There is a kind of agreement that we need to push the agenda forward. Finance is another major challenge for developing nations looking to curb emissions. If you want to elaborate on that.
Well, I think she pronounced it well, and she said it well. Like I said in the beginning, Egypt has taken this seriously, so is the other countries. You were talking about that they have to see first before they invest money. The Europeans have an idea about what Egypt is busy with, and therefore they have no humble to pay money or to invest money. Like the United Kingdom, what he said that he will invest 11.8 million pound in 2025 for this. And it's not only the United Kingdom, the French and the German and the Austrian and all the countries, because they will be using it later. They need it, and therefore they invest because they have to. They cannot produce it in the country, but will be produced here. Besides that, they have announced about the pricing of carbon. Maybe we can explain to the people what is carbon and why is a high implementary of degree on the air. We are in a war with the nature. We have to.
We should never be.
We have to prevent the nature anger, because what
Amen to
happening,
that.
what happening now, it's nature anger. The nature has his own law. We cannot fight it, but we have to obey it. And actually, the last years, we have done, not we, but the whole world has done a lot of things against that. And you will find it back. You get it back. So the nature hit back. So now the world just wake up and said, well, it is enough. We have to accept it, and we have to respect it, and we have to obey the law. For the big country, they would like to catalyze the industry. As you know, the steel produce a lot of carbon in the air. And the developed country, they don't suffer, but the poor countries, they suffer a lot. And they don't get nothing. I mean, they produce steel, they produce manufacture for cars and all the things, so they earn money. But the poor countries like in Africa, they only have dry river and dry land.
Drought, desertification, you name it.
And then dead plants. Also, the airplanes. Don't think that airplanes, it is the most dangerous producer of carbon. And therefore, they are busy since a very long time in Europe to produce the clean energy from the hydrogen to use it for airplane. But it is not succeeded 100%.
Till the moment.
But there is some abuse. So I am very optimistic about the future, and Egypt is doing it well, and we will earn a lot of money from this project.
We will take our right. We will be compensated. It's not only us, it's Africa. This COP is dubbed the COP of Africa because Africa is the least continent participating or having a share in this carbon emissions and methane emissions and the pollutants which are filling our air. But in the same time, we are the most unfortunately, of course, we are exposed most to these dangers. But sir, what's really important about this COP is that we are implementing on what was agreed upon in Glasgow last year and in Paris before. We are not here only to negotiate. We are here to implement
yes.
on the ground. Here with the presence of global or international financial institutions like the European Bank for Construction and Development, the African Bank for Development, and you can see or witness the signing of deals between governments and those institutions, between huge private sector companies and those institutions. This means that we are going to witness on the ground projects in this field. So how do you see this as one of the signs of the success of COP27?
Well, like I informed, or like I told you, I don't have to wait till the conference finish. I see and I saw and I felt that the conference has succeeded already. Because as you have said, the president said, we are here to implement and not to fill promises in paper. So, as you remind about Africa, I think Egypt is helping Africa since a long time, and the COP27 is also for Africa, is not only for Egypt, and it's not only for Egypt, it's for the whole world. And Africa will earn a lot of money because, as I said about the carbon, they repricing the carbon. Each countries who reduce the carbon on the air, they have make a price per ton is $75. This will be not in money, but this will be in certificate. This will be in certificate. For example, if the United Kingdom, let's say not Kingdom, if the Germany try to reduce the carbon on the air, for each ton, they will earn $75. And the $75 will be a certificate. And this money, they will pay it less for the other countries. But the other countries who are not reducing, but producing more carbon, they will have to pay this certificate for the developing country that they can help Africa or the other country who use it. I would like to say something to the people because they were talking about this is out of the economy, but also it's in the future. Because they said last conference in Glasgow that one of the cities, it will be drowned under the water, the Alexandria. How come? If the temperature is higher, as you know, the water is having a lot of nitrogen and oxygen. And when you have too much heat, this becomes to water. And therefore, the water of the oceans is getting higher, and therefore it can be dangerous for the other city. But this, they will work on it. And I'm sure they will succeed because they've taken it seriously. And I'm really positive, very positive about it, especially after the visit of the President of the United States, because it was very positive. And I felt it like...
and he said even in his speech that U.S. Special Climate Envoy Kerry was here even before American President Joe Biden's visit, and there was all the time consultations and talks between Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, the president of COP27, and the U.S.
John Kerry
Climate
and
Envoy.
Al Gore.
And with Kerry's speeches in many occasions, by the way, he proved that we do have joint vision. And even he was transparent enough to say that few countries have even resisted mentioning a global goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This was in the official text of the COP27 summit. How do you see releasing such a statement? Because I think this was not the case before. And to say that this means that we have a lot to do, such a heavy homework, to convince those countries to return back to normal, to us, to work for the coming generations. Or, as you've kindly mentioned, sir, the anger of Mother Nature is going to be something which we will not be able to tolerate.
I think they are convinced already. We don't have to convince them. They are convinced, and therefore they implement paying the money. And they sign a contract for it. So we have to work hard to make it true. We have to make it hard to produce the green hydrogen and export it to them. That's what they are waiting for. And we will succeed because we can do it, and we have the power, and we have the resources, and we have a president who check and control everything, every day, every moment.
For us, but others... Let me quote Kerry, and then we are going to continue what you have started, sir. Greenhouse gas emissions have been rising ever since. However, scientists say the world risks missing the target without swift and deep cuts. The target, of course, it's 1.5 degrees Celsius. Breaching the 1.5 degrees Celsius risks unleashing the worst consequences of global warming.
I mean, it's something we have to work all global on it. We cannot work only in Egypt, but the whole world. And everyone is now aware of the anger of the nature, even the states. And therefore, they obey them duties, and they pay the money, and the first time I see those people speaking with humanity about Africa. For the first time in my life, it has never happened before. Everybody was thinking about Africa is green, and Africa has a lot of oxygen and a lot of trees, and nothing will happen. But after all the hunger, what we have seen in Africa, and all the people who just immigrate from place to place and miles walking, so that breaks the hearts. And this is what has happened. And
but sir, have they learned the lesson? I mean, you would not find the drought and the desertification only in Africa. I mean, Spain, France, Italy, Belgium, Portugal, they all suffered this year wildfires in a way that was never witnessed before. Even in one of the important sessions which took place yesterday, one of the insurance companies in America, he was speaking about the wildfires and to what extent it was huge this year to an extent that, as I said, it was not witnessed before. So it's not only about what's going on in Africa, it's about what the developed country have witnessed themselves. True?
Yes, it's true, because the high temperature evaporated the water and it make it less. As you see in El Sine River, it's not only in Europe but also in Iraq. They have,
And in China.
and at China, in everywhere. So it's the high temperature in the whole global is going surrounding, and now the whole world is now awake. They have to work together to obey the law of the nature and to decrease the carbon on the air. Otherwise, we will not survive.
Yeah. Sir, many developing countries demanded the implementation of what was called, or an initiative which was called loss and damage. And there was one of the examples which were set between Germany and Chile. Germany as a developed country and Chile as a developing country. As if it's suitable to, for every developed country to choose one or two developing countries, whether in Latin America like Chile, for example, and another in Africa, you name it, and to make sure that they are going to compensate or to fund those governments and to fund many projects to be able to cope with the current situation or to adaptation. This is another way of solving the problem, with or against?
No, with, because it is not only about helping with money. It's helping with technology, is helping with the science, is helping with making factories there in the country where they supposed to be developing country. So it is not only about money. It is going about everything. So if I think if allow me to talk about Germany, it's a very helpful country, and they have sense of humor in everything, in politics, in economic, in helping other countries. So I have no less word to be thankful for those people, because I know what they are doing, not only for Egypt but for many countries in the world. And if I compare it with other countries in Europe, like I have lived for a long time, no, Germany, it's a wonderful, great country, and if they say they will, they do. So they do what they said.
By all means, it's all the time a win-win situation, or it should be a win-win situation, because we are living together on one planet.
But they didn't know that before.
And to save the planet is our duty in general, at large. It's not the duty for a certain people or a certain leadership, it's our duty. If you permit me to return back to Egypt, Egypt wants to move faster to deploy renewables and accelerate the energy transition. This is a slogan, or this is something which we do repeat, whether the top executives, whether of course the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in many occasions, whether the President of the COP27, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry in many of his meetings, whether inside the COP27 or on the sidelines of the meeting. How do you see this, sir, as one of the political leadership's top priorities?
Well, they've taken it seriously, especially the Foreign Minister Shoukry was leading the COP. It's very serious, and he is taking step by step. And like they said in the beginning, we are here to implement and not to promises. Also from the United Nations, Mr. Muhyiddin, who helped a lot in giving a lot of
climate change champion,
a lot of solution and a lot of idea about how we could make it better, and they both are very successful. And the president was very clear and in his word, in his speech, by opening the ceremony of the conference, also that he said, if you allow me, or if we allow us, we have to stop the war, because the war is one of the reasons that also implement a lot of high temperature in the world, and it changes the temperature, it changes the climate in everywhere. So I think that Egypt will succeed 100% because they will work hard for it and they will reach them aim.
And already the cabinet announced earlier, even before the COP27, that we will announce the national strategy for green hydrogen production during this summit, implemented in cooperation with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Arab Union for Sustainable Development and Environment. How do you see also the cooperation and coordination among different institutional entities and among different countries to reach these goals and to achieve them on the ground? Because there is, for example, another initiative which was launched last year between the United Arab Emirates and the United States regarding farming, the Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate, or AIM.
100 million.
Today, it was announced that this initiative is going to double its investments. Some very good news also coming from our COP27.
This coming because of the satisfaction of the world, the satisfaction of the people who are interested of changing the global nature, because they have damaged a lot. And now is the time that they have to listen to what's surrounding. We can't continue in manufacture and keeping the carbon on the air.
Yeah, sure.
They were talking also about something. The manufacturer will not stop, but they were talking about catalyzers for the carbon. For example, for the steel factories, they would like to take the carbon and drown it under the ground and keep it there in the oil field, which is empty. And believe me, this will save the world, because the oil cannot pumping forever.
Yeah.
Because they know, geologically, they know how many years this will stop. And they just come on time, because they were thinking about since 15 years already that they have to find another way of energy instead of oil, because one day it will be over. So the time has come, and this is sign of God for the science people, the professor who's just thinking every day about making life better, especially the European and the American. We are suffering here to make our life okay, but there they are working to make them life much more comfortable and much more modern. While in the other countries, the other side of the countries, they are just busy to earn them bread. So there is big difference between two worlds, and this has to be united. The poor, the rich,
balance should be
the rich
reached.
has to pay for the poor, and this is the meaning of the COP27.
And this is to end with that. Muhyiddin underlined the importance of academic research networks as the world moves the climate agenda forwards. The academic research, science can be one of the key words behind the success of our COP27.
Egypt, the United States will share Egypt in academic place in Egypt to learn how people can deal with it.
Amen
And
to that.
this has been announced yesterday as well. And Zoghary just said in his speech today that the amount of money which has been collected until now, it's about 10 million US dollars.
Yeah. And this is to say that another positive side of the coin already mentioned, and we are already working on it. Will Dr. Abbas Zoghary, our economic expert, thank you very much for your input, sir.
You're welcome.
Have a very good night, and we are going to leave you with a promise to see you again in more episodes of our program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's now live with the most important economic events which took place in the past 7 days. Many thanks for watching. We are going to be with you next time, same time on Nile TV International. Well, for more details, please log on to www.nileinternational.net. With all my love, this was Nermeen Abdurrahman.